Welcome to the saggiest couch on the planet. It does really feel like it's sinking in the bottom here.
It's only when you sat down.
Thanks very much. I'm going to just say that there's probably a limit to the amount of weight that this can support. Anyway, welcome to a new feature on Ghastly Tales called The Horror of Netflix. The people that are hosting it are going to be jumping around. Obviously it's the three of us, but Mike will be on it as well. That's probably it.
We should add this is not an advertorial. We are not being sponsored by them, so yeah.
That's it. So,
Incidentally, if you found this video based on the tag 3 guys, 1 couch, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're going to be sorely disappointed. 2 guys and the word saggy as well in the tags too. But, anyway, basically the idea is possibly you've got Netflix, I've got Netflix, you've got Netflix.
I have Netflix.
You're considering Netflix.
Yeah.
I know Michael's got Netflix, and essentially there's a lot of films that kind of appear on Netflix.
In our hearts, are we all Netflix?
That's I don't know actually. Now that the price range rises are going up, I'm definitely starting to not feel Netflix. But anyway, there are a lot of movies that are on it that people might not necessarily know, so maybe our hope is that we can look at some of the more obscure ones. And one that has just come screaming at a tiny volume. It's like a silent scream. One, yeah, kind of a bit like that, but in a vacuum. That's come flying onto Netflix is Michael Mann's 1983 film The Keep.
That was one of my many talents, by the way. Really high pitched scream.
That's it.
That's quite
You're like a giant rape alarm. So you've kind of semi-seen it, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen part of this. I think I saw like the first 3/4 of an hour of it. I mean, I don't know why I gave it up. I kind of want to say I was just finding it to be a bit dull.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie of atmosphere rather than pace. You've not seen it.
I haven't seen a frame of it.
Which is great because then I can explain it. So, what fuck?
You forgot.
The Keep.
What happens?
The Michael Mann's The Keep 1983 is the second film he did after Thief, which is Thief, which is a word that I seem to have strange issues with, along with monster. Sometimes
You managed it there,
monster.
though.
I know, because I'm consciously doing it now. I think that Michael and his kind of psychologist days has picked up a couple of things and has peppered things into my mind. Anyway, let's get to the movie. Yeah, it was the second feature-length film that Michael Mann had done. After this, he did Manhunter, which is a personal favourite of mine. And you can even see elements in this movie, and in Thieves to an extent, of his style coming through. I mean, you definitely see it in Manhunter. It's like unmistakably Mann. After seeing Manhunter, most people are a Mann fan. But...
is he taking it out of context?
Yeah. Man fan.
Did you say that?
A man
Sounds like we're talking about a whole different kind of film.
Some kind of genetically impossible combination. Anyway, this...
Imagine most people would watch a film called Manhunter are already men fans.
Manhunter.
Man fans.
I know. It's kind of right for a porn parody, isn't it? Manhunter. Anyway, this movie is basically... I mean, it's got the perfect setup. It's a group of Nazi soldiers that are sent to occupy a keep that's got a kind of unspeakable evil inside it.
What's a keep?
A keep.
Like
It's kind of like a
castle.
fortress almost.
Okay.
But the movie's got a real kind of checkered past. There's meant to be like a 210-minute cut of the film. But never ever seen the light of day, and it got absolutely ripped apart by the editors. It's 1 hour and 30 minutes is the main one that you can find, and there was a lot of issues for that. The producers cut it to oblivion, almost to the point where, to the point now where Michael Mann is disowned the film. Another issue as well is the special effects artists actually died while they were working on the film, so they couldn't complete some sections.
As a result of something happened on set, or
yeah,
just,
no, I don't know. Out with it, maybe. I don't want
Was he
to.
consumed
I don't want to
by
make a
some
joke
evil?
in case it was something really
yeah,
tragic.
yeah.
I haven't looked into
like
it. so-
died. That's pretty fucking
Yeah,
tragic.
for once, I'm gonna actually be kind of sensitive.
Okay.
But yeah. So essentially, he put me off. I've got a really narrow line that I have to traverse along, and if anyone helps me tangent, all of a sudden, and I've started like 40 splinter paths. Anyway, So that's your kind of setup to it. There's a whole load of issues with it, and there's all different versions of it. Like the TV version has an alternate ending, for example, but there's no DVD or Blu-ray release for this film. The most complete version is the Laserdisc version, which I believe is the one that's appeared on Netflix.
Okay.
The other issue as well, there was some issue with the copyright for the original soundtrack, so a lot of the releases don't have the original soundtrack by German band Tangerine Dream. It's a shit hot soundtrack. But fortunately, the Netflix version does is it's the Laserdisc and it's in the proper anamorphic aspect ratio rather than the TV one, which is essentially just 1:3:3 like square format, and they just chop the ends off it, and you can't understand what the fuck is going on.
Are you certain there's never been a DVD release? Because I have
100%.
a feeling that although I've not seen the film, I have a vague memory of standing in HMV around the time I got my first DVD player, looking at horror DVDs and swithering on whether to buy The Keep. Now, I may have been looking at a VHS tape.
Right, it's quite possible there is a
But
VHS of it.
I don't think so. I think that was around the time I first bought a DVD player, talking about like 98, 99. And
Probably a VHS.
Well, yeah, but...
There's
maybe.
no DVD or Blu-ray release
Okay.
at all. So that's what I'm saying. The version
in
that's...
the UK, we should say.
well, you're not even even in
Oh,
America, nowhere ever. The Laserdisc that I believe you can get a hold of is in a United States one.
Yeah.
And the version that's on Netflix not HD or anything, which leads me to believe it. The quality's not bad, but it leads me to believe it must just be a master of the Laserdisc. Hail Laserdisc. But yeah, so essentially it's a really strange film. In terms of how they set it up, like I said, it's kind of atmosphere, not pace. There's a real scale to the film, and it kind of feels like a bit of a tragedy because there's a lot of bits that are unexplained because it's been crammed in to a really short time period, and you feel that had there actually been given the time, and had you watched the version that was fleshed out, it would actually be a really great piece. There's some quite interesting visual effects in it. There's about 14 metric fuck tons of dry ice per frame. And there's lasers and everything. You can tell it's very much a movie post-Alien, that the studios wanted to have it, and I think they were really...
When was it made?
1983.
Okay.
And I think the studio ultimately made so many cuts because they wanted this kind of like hunting film, where basically like Nazis fighting this creature, and they didn't really get this.
So even though they cut it down so much, it's still more of an atmosphere over pace.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a bit of it, but I mean, whole things literally just, there's bits like the two of the main characters come together, spoilers, and essentially it's the daughter of Ian McKellen's character. There's a big cast in this, I'll get to this in a minute, and they kind of almost like supernatural, this supernatural kind of counter to the monster arrives.
Okay.
And when about 2 seconds, there's meant to be a whole kind of like courting scene between the two of them. They're not the evil guy and the good guy, like the good guy and Ian McKellen's daughter. But essentially they turn up and in about 2 minutes they're shagging, like literally. But she goes into this kind of tantric trance, and it's almost like, has he put her into a trance and then pumped her? Is that cool? I don't think that's cool. But there's ultimately all meant to be this stuff in it up until then where they're talking, and that stuff you normally kind of have to do in most cases to get her into that scenario. But really in this, he comes in, kind of looks at her a bit, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay.
We'll never know what those amazing chat
Straight
lines
in.
were that put her
I
into
know.
a tantric
So
trance.
that's the thing. So I mean, obviously, a lot of people that watch the film and like it go and read the book.
Yeah.
And the original author, I can't remember his name for the life of me, unfortunately, hates the film.
Yeah.
He thinks visually it's fantastic, but narratively it's a mess.
Yeah.
And he actually brought out a graphic novel for people to read, which was the closest he thought he would ever get to a proper adaptation of the book into a visual medium.
Yeah.
So there's things about the film that are really quite enjoyable, and particularly the whole Michael Mann-esque nature of it. Visually, it's striking.
It's quite strange because you always associate Michael Mann so much with like contemporary things like that kind of
Cops and robbers.
Yeah, the kind of Miami Vice, Heat, that kind of thing, where it's all kind of urban settings and kind of glowing sunsets over neon-tipped skyscrapers and stuff like that. So to see it in this kind of World War II period film, like in a kind of remote mountainous region, it feels it's quite an unusual juxtaposition in a way. I think that makes it kind of memorable.
I think that's what was one of the big things for Michael Mann. He said actually when this movie came about that the whole thing was he didn't want to make another Cops and Robbers movie, which was hilarious because he's just done as his only Cops and Robber movie, and then after that did Miami Vice, and people were like, Michael, you can't do anything else other than cops and robbers movie. I'm sorry, this is your lot in life. And he just went, all right, well, I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Apparently, his new one with Thor in it's shit.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth, I think some people call him. But yeah, so I mean, if you had,
You kind of sold it to me. I do.
I hope I have sold it to you.
Yeah. I'd like to go back and give it another
Now,
shot.
other than this one DVD copy that Martin found and then stupidly didn't buy,
Yeah, the mythical DVD
this
copy.
one they were screaming him in the face and went, nah, it's actually worth
sure-
£1 million.
Yeah, I think I ended up buying Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Which,
Fair enough.
yeah, that's
that
a
the
pretty
right
reasonable
decision?
alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prior to today, did you know anything about this film?
I remembered it from having seen what I thought was DVD and HMV. That's all I knew about it. I like, that looks alright, but nah.
There's
Not-
a real
not certain
cult
film,
following behind it, I think, partially because of the fact that it's so unattainable.
Yeah.
Like there's versions of the alternate ending on YouTube that are actually taken from a VHS tape from
Right.
like the original TV broadcast in like 1989 or
How
something.
drastic is the alternate ending? Does it change the whole thing? Or
It's
is it just
another
like
6
minor-
minutes.
So it's just an additional.
It's totally different. And it's closer to the book,
Right.
or it is basically the book.
Yeah.
But you know, there's whole things where it's like obviously there must exist more film stock, or there did exist more film stock
Yeah.
for them to make a larger
Right,
cut.
yeah.
But obviously there's issues as well because the visual effects guys died too.
So there's probably. I'm sure they could have got someone to stand in, but
But it feels in terms of
Cheaper
the way
just to put it
that
out, I
there's
guess.
bits where there's moments like I said in the pacing, which feels like had they been given the whole
Yeah.
time to play with, it could be a lot better. But to sell you on the cast quickly, right? Ian McKellen in one of his youngest roles in old man makeup, so he kind of looks like current day Ian McKellen, right?
how old
so,
was he at the time?
well, 1983, so what, 17,
40?
22, yeah, something like that. So yeah, pre-Gandalf and everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Pre probably post Hamlet.
Okay.
But yeah, he's interesting because there's a real mix of accents in the cast as well. He's doing an American accent for some reason. On top of, so you've got Ian McKellen, Glenn Scott plays the kind of wanderer type character.
Okay.
You've got Gabriel Byrne playing a bad Nazi. And you've got Jordan
As
Prock.
opposed to all those good Nazis.
Yeah, Jordan Prochnow, I believe, playing basically his character from Das Boot, like the kind of like the good Nazi that just kind of wants to save his men, essentially. And I feel like I've made another blaring omission, but anyway.
probably no.
But there's a lot of stuff that seems to be in the Laserdisc that maybe didn't exist in the theatrical too, and there's some imagery in it that's really good as well. And it's unfortunate that you just feel that, like I said, had those other scenes been in it, it could have been a really brilliant film. But still worth a watch, even just for the atmosphere and everything. So
obviously there's no will to put out there's not even a DVD version
no.
of it, so there's no will.
Plus
to put out
Michael
an
Mann's got
extended
no
version.
interest in it too.
Yeah.
But maybe after this video, there'll be enough of a thing.
We're doing our
watching.
part.
I think probably the biggest tragedy would be the fact that the visual effects guys died and just left them in the lurch because
Yeah.
there was whole fight
Bastards.
scenes. Yeah, I know. A bit selfish and short-sighted of them, but yeah. Hopefully, I've convinced. I think I've convinced you.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just
You gonna
thinking.
watch the second half?
Oh yeah, I really need to go back to it. One
What's the
thing-
first half again?
I was just going to add as well that it does play in rotation on Film 4 in the UK occasionally, and also
I've never seen it up. Has it?
that was where I watched it. That was where I had it recorded for a while, but unfortunately I wiped it because I just thought, well, I'm never going to finish this now.
Was
Is
it?
it
Can you
same-
remember? Sorry, 2 seconds. Can you remember if
That's
it was
the
in
question I
the?
was
Well, that's what I was
asking
trying
now.
to think. I think it was probably the 4x3 because I seem to remember it was like the full screen. as well.
Film 4 are usually pretty good at putting out the original.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was
The
just
broadcast
something I
version
put
is 4x3 though. That's
Yeah, but Film 4 would usually Channel 4 would usually find the original version. They wouldn't usually put the shitty ITV version.
there might have been an issue with broadcast because the only Laserdisc is the American one.
Yeah.
So there might have been an issue with that, but anyway, this is a new release on Netflix. I love it. One of the new releases, or maybe from
It's,
1983.
Yeah, like Breaking Bad. That
Like
release.
Breaking Bad is
Yeah.
still on new release, guys. It's a brilliant show, but
It's not really new.
they must be paying so much money for it. That's what it is. It's still there, but yeah. Anyway, we'll have hold on.
So I was just going to say, just as a final thought, that I remember the first time I remember hearing about Michael Mann stuff was in one of those TV nostalgia programs where they were talking about Miami Vice, and I thought it was Michael Mann that was speaking, but it was actually the comedian Greg Proops. So for years I thought Greg Proops was Michael Mann. I couldn't fathom why Michael Mann was not this kind of slightly camp guy with huge hair and specs.
That's disembodied boy. Well, not camp, but he's got the huge hair and the specs. Sunnies anyway. But yeah, anyway, hopefully this will encourage you to go and watch this. I would probably say interesting film. I know that's a risk of making it sound like it's boring, but yeah, it's got moments. You know how they sometimes say that things are good, but they've got moments of greatness. This as a result of bits missing from it is average, but has moments of goodness.
Or you're unselling it to me.
No, honestly, it's still worth watching. It's just the whole time you watch it, it's kind of just feels like a bit of a shame. Like it's the film that could have been.
Give it a shot for the soundtrack.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, the soundtrack, Tangerine Dream,
The Tangerine Dream is amazing.
Knocked it out of the park. Previously collaborated with Michael Mann in his previous film, The Thief. But yeah, check it out, and we'll be back to do more of these.
Yep.
That was kind of quite Michael Mann-esque at the end. Shot the camera.